Hi, everybody. My name's John, and I'm talking with Ricky, who's in the Philippines, and we were at the same, we were in a Shambhala training program a few weeks ago, and we got into a conversation about uh, the idea that Shambhala could be a place where different spiritual traditions connect and are in conversation. And Ricky said some interesting things about how, he felt like some people in his generation were missing a kind of spiritual uh, connection. And so my first question is, well, what do you think is a spiritual connection?
Hmm. I think a spiritual is derived from having a sort of meaning. I don't want to reuse the word connection, but having a meaning towards what you do when you wake up in the morning or the way that you treat other people. I'd say that that's the beginning of a spiritual connection. And excuse me as I get served food here. Thank you. So, spiritual connection for me recently, that's only been something that I had introduced to myself, that was always given to me. And so up until this last year, spiritual connection wasn't something that I found in my life. So I started actually attending the Young Meditators group at the Shambhala Center, and that's how I got my introduction to Shambhala. And that was coming at a time in my life where I was still processing some of my earlier life's hard times, you could say. And so the spiritual connection that I found was just kind of being able to find meaning in those hard times and the suffering that I had. Find meaning in the hard times and the suffering that I had, and be able to use that for my connections with other people and trying to help them on their own paths. So that's kind of like what spiritual connection has meant for me in this past year. And that's kind of where I'm at. That was my introduction to it. So I was a practicing Catholic and or non-practicing Catholic, and then this last year I started. My first introductory spirituality was with the Shambhala Center and doing Young Meditators group, and then eventually going into the Shambhala Level 1 training, which I believe was maybe a month ago.
So one question that I have is what you see as the connection between meditation and those things that you're reporting have changed. Like what does meditation have to do with meaning?
Why does meditation have to do anything with meaning? Well, so what I see in my generation and with the people that I grew up with in grade school, high school, and just kind of observing life through social media now is that people are constantly searching for something new, something they haven't done before, new experiences. And they've also been driven away from spirituality because of kind of maybe the esotericness of it, or that's kind of how I saw it. It was something that was kind of far-fetched and something aiming for something. Why don't you just settle with what you already have? And I think I was able to describe the process of meditating and what meaning that brings. I think the meaning is something that's already there, and meditation's something that just kind of helps illuminate that. Did that answer the question? I hope it did.
Yeah, I think that's a really good answer, actually. Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing you say something about how you know, when we're constantly searching outside, we kind of miss the meaningfulness that's there in our own experience, in our own daily life. Whoa, that's awfully loud. So I'm thinking we have another minute, and I think that, you know, you put your finger on the very issue.
Let's see. If I can speak more on the side of just meditation, I think meditation was something that I never saw as a Catholic practice. It was never something under all the words that a lot of spiritual groups all have in common. So I think that's kind of what I briefly mentioned during our Shambhala training. And that's something that really interests me too.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. So I think that's really, you know, very interesting to kind of, you know, I don't think the point of Shambhala should be for someone to not be a Catholic or not be a Methodist or not be a Buddhist. You know, it's kind of like, well, you know, what's kind of when we sink into where we are, wherever that may be, you know, and kind of make that as full and reflective as possible. So that might do it. You know, this connection had a little lags here and there, but let's just see if that works. And I hope this is the beginning of a longer conversation.
Yeah, me too. That went by really quickly. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad I was able to be a part of it.
Great. Thanks, Ricky.